Hey, it's Andrew Huang. And today we're looking at the ROLI Airwave, which is a device that sits at the top of a MIDI controller and can really accurately detect your hands, and so you can use your gestures to control different musical parameters. Thank you to ROLI for sponsoring this video. Let me show you how it works. So Airwave should be positioned flush with your MIDI controller. It connects to your computer with USB-C, and then it can just detect your hands. You might have to run a quick calibration procedure where you press 2 notes down with your index fingers, and that aligns your hand visuals with the keyboard visuals. There's also some different views, and you can even change what keyboard you're looking at. So for instance, if you've got a Rise 2, this visual will perfectly line up with your MIDI controller. Let's try that out. Just in case you're not aware, this is the Seaboard Rise 2. It's ROLI's squishy MIDI controller. I'm sure they've got more technical, cool ways to describe it, but it's a MIDI controller and it's squishy. Now check this out. I'm gonna use the sustain pedal so I can lift both my hands. So if you look in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, you can see that it's tracking these 3 gestures that they're calling air raise, air glide, and air tilt. So raise is just up and down, glide is to the side, and tilt is kind of rotating your wrist outward. There's a little bit of a dead zone just above the surface of the keys. Like right now you can see none. Oh, it is detecting tilt there. I guess that's handy because you're not usually tilting your hands while you're playing, so you can immediately get that tilt. But yeah, the glide doesn't take effect because obviously that would be constantly happening as you're moving around the keys. And then raising, you have to go a certain amount, and I think it's your wrist actually that it detects before it activates. So you have some room to move around the keys and play totally normally without worrying about accidentally triggering these gestures. Now there are so many things to talk about here. So at launch there's going to be about 100 synth presets, and by the way these are all connected to ROLI's Equator 2 software synth. If you go to the Airwave panel, you can see what it's tracking. And these are all assignable to pretty much any parameter on the synth, so you can just click one and then drag on a parameter to adjust how much you want it to modulate it. And of course, you can assign them to multiple things, so they can all be macro controls. You can assign the modulation to like the amount of another modulation, if that makes sense. So the way that I am positioning my gesturing hand could affect things like the pressure of a key and the amount that that control is doing its thing. You can see that it is tracking both hands, but in the current iteration, it's just taking the highest value of either hand. So doing this was kind of unnecessary. I could just gesture with one hand, but they have told me they plan to develop the system further where maybe each hand could control different things. And the system is actually detecting your fingers as well. I mean, it's detecting like your bones, all the joints in your hands. I actually have access to something that is not part of the consumer release version of this product, but you can see the tech that they're using to track your hands. Those colored points are all my joints. I mean, there's a big ball in the middle of my hand, but got all these knuckles. So maybe individual finger control would be possible later on. I mean, don't hold me to that, but there's so many possibilities with this. I guess I'll also mention the way it detects your hands is just through 2 infrared cameras, so kind of like a stereo image with infrared light, so it works in lots of different lighting conditions. It's not like X-raying your hands or anything harmful like that. And a really cool thing that they're doing with this is using it for educational purposes. So they've got a platform where by tracking your hands with this system, they can actually give you feedback about your posture, about your technique, obviously about things like your note accuracy. So I'm really excited about what that means for people who maybe can't afford ongoing lessons, or even if you can, your practice can be that much more effective because, you know, when I was a kid learning piano, I might go home and try and practice something, and then I'd go back to my teacher the next week and she'd be like, you've been doing that wrong. So your hours and hours of practice this week, you kind of learn some habits that you now have to unlearn and fix. Ooh, I like the stereo spread when you open your hands up. Oh, and the tilt here is very like ethereal. With a pitch glide. Up an octave? Yeah. Oh, that is cool. There's one other one that did that stereo spread thing that I really like, Rain in the 80s. And this one's very dynamic, like the sound really changes. Oh yeah, this was also one where like, you could kind of strum extra notes with the raise gesture, and then glide starts introducing these little raindrops. And if you've got a good stereo setup or if you're in headphones, you can hear how fun that is. And then yeah, the air tilt in this case is more of a filter opening thing. This one has a whole beat to it. I have to say, it feels so natural to play like this. Like, this is a brand new technology, but just being able to use your hands and arms gesturing to affect the music, it almost feels like something that I should have been able to do all along, and I finally can. So that's the Airwave. Interested to hear what you think in the comments. I'll see you next time.